Welcome to the Redirect podcast. My name is Abigail Humans.
And I'm Emily Rojas. The Redirect podcast is a show where we shift the conversation back to books. We'll discuss themes from some of our favorite fictional books and how those themes show up in real lived experiences.
On today's episode, we'll be discussing a foundational and sacred text, the Twilight Saga.
So, let's start with our relationship to this sacred text. So, for the uninitiated, if that's even possible at this point in our culture, let's just go into a little bit about what the Twilight Saga is. So, it's a supernatural romance, teen, young adult series of 4 books written by Stephenie Meyer. So to take you through the 4 books, if you aren't already aware, the first book we find our protagonist, Bella Swan, moving to the rainy Pacific Northwest town of Forks, Washington, where the sun seems to never shine, and she meets this godlike creature in her high school whose name is Edward Cullen. Fast forward, find out he's a vampire. She has a best friend in town. He's a werewolf. That's book 2. The first book, they fall in love. Book 2, he leaves her. He just abandons her because he's like, I'm not safe for you. You're a human. Gotta protect you. See you later. He's gone the whole time. She falls in love with her werewolf friend a little bit, but then, Edward comes back, of course. We get to book 3, and the werewolves and the vampires, they have to work together to defeat an army of other vampires, so they learn how to coexist after years of, war between the two kinds and animosity, really. And then the last book, Bella has to make her choice, and she chooses between the werewolf Jacob, the vampire Edward, and she chooses Edward, of course. They get married. She becomes a vampire. Abigail, can you tell us a little bit more about the world that the Twilight Saga entered into?
Absolutely. So that was a great rundown of the 4 books. It sounds crazy, but that 4-book series ended up becoming a cultural phenomenon, of course, selling over 160 million copies worldwide, turning into a 5-part movie series starring Kristen Stewart and Rob Pattinson. And while on the surface, it seems like just a teen supernatural romance, there are really big themes that are influenced by the author herself, Stephenie Meyer, that we'll get into, such as discussion of purity culture and pro-life versus pro-choice debate, and even conversations now that are more mainstream in culture now in the 2020s about gaslighting, emotional abuse, feminism, and it was a teen romance, but there are so many important messages in it, not in a good way, kind of in a bad way.
So true.
More of a guide of what not to do. But also, it is, it's something that I will defend to my grave, that we all think is so stupid. We know it's not good, but we're also so connected to it. And that has to do, I think, a lot with our relationship to the book when it came out.
That's so true.
For those who may not know, Emily and I have been friends for our whole lives. We were friends. We were really close friends when we were reading these books. Emily introduced me to the book. So Emily, let's start with you. What do you remember about your connection to Twilight and how you met the books and where you were in life?
Well, yes, like you said, I was an evangelical for Twilight. I tried to get every single one of my friends to read it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for going along with that. I don't remember, though, reading the first book for the first time or where I even heard about it. I'm sure a friend probably told me as well, because when you're, 11 or 12 or however old I was, that's kind of how I found out about books like that. But I do remember that I read it at some point. It had to have been before Eclipse came out, because I remember
the third book.
The release of that 3rd book, yes. And then the 4th book, of course. I definitely remember picking that one up at Barnes & Noble first thing in the morning, as soon as it was released. So, yeah, I was obsessed. I was deep into fan fiction. I wrote it. I read it. I just wrote it. I have personal journals with Twilight fan fiction that was never published. I could still probably find for the best. Yes. I just think it was such a rich text. I know that sounds crazy, but especially for a teen imagination, and I'm going off on a little offshoot here, but I think I was so into the fan fiction, especially because Edward and Bella, the main two love interests, are actually very bland and have no real attributes.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
you could really kind of like
And
vicariously live through them in so many ways. And so, yeah, but I was obsessed. I had a website dedicated to it. I had a poster of Edward Cullen in my bedroom. Robert Pattinson, obviously. I was on the forums. I don't know. I was talking about it. I was obsessed with it. I was an evangelical for it, as I said, and I wished everyone would read it at the time.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no, much like Emily, I didn't have a website and I didn't write fan fiction. But
Fair enough.
I have an Edward Cullen t-shirt. I I don't know if you remember Facebook Flare, but I was
Yes.
really big into pinning Team Edward Flare. I had like I don't even remember if it was like boards that you used to have on Facebook Flare, but I had pages and pages and pages of Team Edward Flare,
Absolutely.
which was wow, just wow. Let's just let that sink in. I also remember waiting outside of Borders, which is no more, so that's a throwback. To buy Breaking Dawn and to buy Eclipse. And another time that you and I were in Borders and we spilled large cups of beverage all over a Twilight display and then just left.
I swore to never repeat that story, so now it's out there for all the world to hear. Ah.
Yeah. So that and now Borders is no more, so maybe we are possibly responsible for their demise. But um but a very important question before we move on. Were you Team Edward or Team Jacob?
That's a tough question. I was 100% Team Edward by the end, and probably at the beginning as well. But there was an intermediate point where I feel like I switched to Team Jacob temporarily. Before you stone me for blasphemy, I must say, I felt like Jacob was there for her. I felt like I knew she wasn't going to pick him. It was never like, like many of these teen love triangle stories, I feel like from the first
Hmm.
book, she's gonna
Yeah.
pick the guy. You know who she's gonna end up with, pretty much.
Hmm. Yeah.
But there never was really any threat of her ending up with Jacob, but it was almost like maybe she should. Like maybe he would be better for her. He's warm, he cares about her, he could give her more of a normal-ish life, as normal as you can have with a werewolf. And so I did switch over, but by the end, and for myself, I definitely think I was always Team Edward. I always just wanted to be with him. But for
And
Bella,
that's mostly because he has no personality. And so that you could make him whatever you wanted to. And I think maybe I was also Team Edward. I struggled through New Moon because I didn't like Jacob that much. But it really wasn't even about their personal attributes. It was just about, I guess, the weird vibes that they had. And for whatever reason, I gravitated more to Edward. And I think that is, that's something that we can jump into. So before we jump into why the general population liked it, maybe we should talk about when we were that age, when we were reading books and they were coming out, what did we like about it and what do we still like? So,
that's a great
so
question.
yeah, so like what was it that made it such a cult classic? So for me, I entered into this with the idea that like a very plain, simple girl who's clumsy and awkward and kind of weird was chosen by this very unreal type of guy who happens to be 109 in a 17-year-old's body and has never chosen anyone before.
Mhm.
And he becomes absolutely in love with her, must protect her at all costs, is willing to risk himself. And when you hold that up against the guy I had a crush on in middle school, right?
Right.
Like, of course I became obsessed with
Right.
this idea. So, what about you?
Yeah, like that guy doesn't exist in your middle school. And I think for me, growing up, my feelings were so intense and I just felt things so intensely. And so I felt like this guy who is fully obsessed with you and who like is devoted to you. Like that's how Edward was with Bella. He was devoted to her. He was obsessed with her. He would put her before himself every single time. Her safety and her just her life, her soul even. He gets into that. And so I think the intense feelings you have in middle school, the obsessions you have with boys,
Obsessions.
I was so boy crazy, like as you
I
know.
know. I
But
know.
just to tell the audience, I was just boy crazy, obsessed with boys, and obsessed with falling in love. Like, I didn't just, it wasn't just like
Yeah.
a crush thing. I wanted to fall in love. I wanted to have someone who felt those same type of intense feelings back towards me. And so when you are that intense 11-year-old, someone who is so obsessed with you, he has to watch you sleep every night. That, while to an adult is bizarre and creepy, but to an 11-year-old, you're like, that makes total sense. Like,
Hmm.
I want to be around my crush all the time. So, like, I would want this guy to feel the same way towards me. So I think it just fulfilled the fantasy of a 12-year-old girl, is that obsession.
Absolutely. I mean, as you know, one of my middle school crushes, I heard that he liked Reliant K. So I made flashcards memorizing all of these facts about Reliant K so that I could talk to him about it.
Yeah.
Like that is a genuine obsession. And also, to be fair, like as we talk about this, I'm realizing like yeah, you were obsessed with boys, but
Mm,
also one of the boys that you had a crush on, you ended up getting married to.
that's true.
Your middle school crushes, so things actually did work out for you. But
They did.
yeah. But yeah, your feelings are so intense. Everything is life or death. There's
Yeah.
no I mean, we were both privileged enough to really not have any bigger stakes in life.
Right.
So the idea that that obsession could be exchanged, that there's some guy that
Mm,
could meet your level of infatuation and like obsession
hmm.
is like that is so tempting and like that's so alluring.
Yeah.
And of course we all absolutely loved it.
Absolutely. And people don't take your feelings seriously also when you're a kid. And so just to feel like you had an outlet to like have these passionate feelings or just something to channel them into, I think that meant a lot to me as well because I just felt like no one no one cares that, in middle school you're in love or whatever. But like this 17-year-old girl is falling in love and they're getting married when she's 18 and that's not that far off. And,
Yeah,
so it's kind of like this relatable thing where you're like, well, I could meet this guy in high school and we could fall in this passionate love instantaneously with no real conversations or anything. And so something about that is also appealing.
and to that point, so like starting with why this caught fire with so many teenage girls, like teenage girls are honestly one of the most powerful groups of the economy. To be honest, like teenage girl fandoms are absolutely insane. They're totally mocked, but they are so, so powerful. Like, think of some of like the craziest, most dedicated fandoms today, like BTS, the BTS Army,
Yes.
Swifties,
Yes.
One Directioners, Harrys. Like,
Yes.
these are armies of adolescent or young women, like now women in their 20s too, that have grown up with like Harry Styles and Taylor Swift, who've grown up with these people and made them superstars.
Yeah.
And at the time that they discovered these artists or these books or whatever, were totally mocked, and those things were mocked because girls like them.
Yeah. And I think that is also, on the flip side, a part of what made Twilight such a cultural phenomenon is that it is the power of the teenage girl, like you're saying, but it's also like the camaraderie. Like, I
Yeah.
remember going to the midnight premiere of Twilight with one of my friends and all the other girls there. Like there was just girls there, and it
Yes.
was it was like we can all relate to this one thing, and we can all talk about it, and our friends can, I can share it with friends, and so I think that's also part of the appeal, but it is also it's the power of it to propel it to the heights that it reached. But it is also why I think people have given it such a bad rap, and maybe it brings some of that onto itself with some of the content, which we can talk about
Totally.
later. But I
Totally.
do think like it's an automatic write-off that this is trash because girls like it.
Totally. And I think to this day, it's like other like girls, gays, and theys can make fun of Twilight,
Yes,
but if a straight man makes fun of Twilight, like it's
it's
on
on
site.
site.
Like I will like square up,
Yes.
like shut up.
Like
Like
at dawn we ride for Twilight for Edward
yeah,
Cullen.
like I
Yes.
will criticize this to its grave, but unless you have the credentials to do so, like keep its name out of your mouth. That's
Absolutely.
absolutely. And
Absolutely.
so kind of just going off of that, another group that really caught on to these books were not just young women and adolescent women, but there was a large contingency of like moms
Yes.
who were reading this stuff. And I think it begs the question, like, if they were able to look at it with a more mature lens and more lived experience, can we speculate why they grabbed onto this so intensely?
I don't know. We can't speculate wildly, of course. But I think it has to be a specific type of mom because we did have a friend, and I'm sure there are others out there, who wasn't allowed to read Twilight. Like her mom definitely read it and did not like it, like so and I think that's completely valid on the look back. Like there are some problematic
Yeah, of course.
portrayals of relationships in these books. So I get that, but it is very interesting. I think the thing that moms and teen girls have in common is that people don't listen to them or take them seriously.
Mm,
And I really think that's the root of it sometimes is like this escapism, this a guy who's obsessed with you, like you said, these intense feelings. And I just think like it is a way to escape, like reading about this, it's not a hard read. It's very easy to fly through, but they're long, so you feel like you're accomplishing something in that, like they're long books. And so I think there's just something about that of like it's a simple romance. It's not too graphic. I think some people, especially like the more conservative moms, like might not want to read a romance that is super, graphic. And so what is there for them? And this is filling that need. And honestly, I was 10 when Twilight came out, so I don't know, but like what was there before Twilight that kind of fits into that niche? I don't know. I think it is its kind of own thing, and it is a cultural phenomenon, and I think that it's the same thing. Like moms can come together. They were probably taking
yeah.
their teen daughters to go see it. My dad personally
Uh-huh.
took me, so I can't relate. But
Oh gosh.
if you're taking your tween to go to the movies and you stay and the other moms are there and you guys can talk about it and you can feel like a glimpse of that obsessed love when your husband doesn't even like take out the trash or unload the dishwasher half the time.
Totally.
Like
Totally.
maybe there is something about that we have in common.
Yes. And I think I imagine. I'm not a sociologist, but like for a lot of women who came of age in the 20th century, who were boomers or Gen Xers, it's like what you got, maybe like what your expectations were to get out of an opposite sex marriage
Mm,
are a lot different than what they are today. And
yeah,
there's maybe a higher importance on just getting married than marrying the right person.
yeah, or
And
being
so it is a
happy.
little bit of an escape. And like Edward, although he's definitely a toxic person, a toxic
Sure.
character, he's somebody who would never put his own needs first.
Yes.
And so it's like this ultimate overcorrection of like Bella is a person who is normally not noticed. She's
Right.
normally like kind of just stuck in the background, and all of a sudden this unbelievably exceptional supernatural being has
Yes.
chosen her to love. And so
Two of
it
them.
is that over. Yes, two of
Yeah.
them. It's a total overcorrection.
Absolutely.
I wanted to pick out something that you said about maybe for some more conservative groups, because it's not this sexually graphic novel.
Mm-mm.
It is not a sexually graphic series. Actually, it is far the other way. There are a lot of themes of purity culture in these books, and I wonder if you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. I think, just some context on our lives that we
Yeah,
both grew up in the
set it up.
Southern evangelical church. And I think, for me personally, after reading Twilight, but, around the same age, I like swore off dating in high school. I promised
You
I
kissed
wouldn't.
dating goodbye.
I kissed dating goodbye. I really did. And I wanted to be courted as, that book if you're not familiar, talks about, which is dating with the intention of marriage. It's not even dating, it's very, involving your families. I don't remember all the rules
It's
at this
basically
time.
like testing to see, it's like, okay, this is someone I might want to marry.
Hmm.
We will basically date and be chaperoned, but
Yes.
until we decide not to get married, we will stay courting. Like we won't stop courting unless we decide we aren't getting married,
Yes.
kind of thing.
Yes. It's very intense and it's very focused on getting married. And so that was what we were surrounded by and just grew up in that time, especially at that age. And so Edward is this guy and he's from, the 1900s. Like he's from like
Literally,
1901
literally.
is when he dies or something. And so he is old fashioned. And so he straight up says, I want to court you. Like, that's what we would do in my time. And we're not going to, like, he barely wants to kiss her or touch her. 50-50 with, like, the purity thing. And also, I might kill you accidentally thing. So it's a
Because
little
he's,
bizarre.
yeah, for the uninitiated, he's like intensely drawn in by the scent of her blood.
Like,
And
more so
for,
than anyone else.
and it reveals in Midnight Sun, which is the companion book to Twilight that Stephanie Meyer released in 2020.
Which I do
It's
not
Twilight from
recommend.
don't
Emphatically.
recommend. It is unreadable. It is miserable garbage. But but we read it. But he to be fair.
Fair. Yeah.
And if a straight man came at me about Midnight Sun,
Yeah, don't
again,
talk about
it's
it.
on site. It's on site. But I'm so glad I did read that in my younger years
Oh, yeah.
because he talks a lot in his narration in that book about wanting to kill her.
Like,
Like
too
the
much.
first third of the book, he intensely wants to kill her.
And plans on it.
So that also makes, I mean, that helps understand a little bit
Yeah.
about like the physical constraints, like, but they barely kiss. They mostly just look at each other intensely.
Yes. A
And
lot of staring.
yeah,
Yeah. And I think that's like a lot of also what I liked about it at the time is like he's such a gentleman. This is what I want. Like I think at 11 I would have been fine to marry someone at 18.
totally. I was like, yeah, I'll be so grown up.
Yeah. And so like it doesn't seem bizarre. It's like he wants to marry her after only a few months, which is what happens in the series of books. He pretty much probably proposes to her, what would you say, after 2 months of actually spending time together and like a
Yeah.
couple more months of being not with her at all. And
It's within
so,
a year of actually having met her. But again, for those who haven't read or watched New Moon, there's like, it's like
like
a whole
almost a
like
full year. Yeah.
a whole like 8 or 9 months, I think, that, I mean, don't quote me on that he's like not with her.
Yeah. And so, but that made sense to me because it's like, I feel like the whole goal of dating is marriage and you are just going to know, like when you know, you know. I am triggered by that now, but that's what I felt like. You're just
Yeah.
going to meet someone and you're going to know that that's the person you're supposed to marry.
Right. And you
And
think it's going to be this magical thing.
yeah. And so I think, there has been some, I don't know if criticism's even the right word, but some, yeah, critical reviews of the novel that, Stephanie Meyer did put her own beliefs of course, the Mormon Church into this book
Right.
and kind of like painted it as this beautiful thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. The way Edward goes about it, though, controlling comes to mind, like just not taking at
He doesn't
Bella's.
listen to her.
He doesn't listen to her. He doesn't care about what she's saying. He's like, I'm going to hell. You can't change my mind. And so, what are your
Right.
thoughts on that?
He believes that he's going to hell because he's a vampire. And so he wants to save her soul. And so even though she wants to have sex and wants to push things physically, he is basically making the decision for her. Not that he doesn't want to have sex, but that he doesn't want her to go to hell.
Yes.
And then on the other side, the other point in this love triangle is Jacob, who's a werewolf. He's different. He's hot-tempered. He can be kind of selfish, but he's also like, Bella describes him as her sun and Edward as her moon. And he doesn't share the same concerns. He's more about like, hey, like I can give you a real life. Like we can have fun. We can actually have a kid. I have a beating heart, whatever. And he's
No.
right.
Just the simple things in life.
Like we could actually grow old together. Like we could do things like whatever. And so, and like she is very drawn to him. They are really good friends. She's very drawn to him. I think one thing that doesn't show up in the movies a lot is that she actually really does consider getting with him. Like in the movies, I don't feel like that comes through. In the books, that does come through.
Yeah.
And she considers being on Team Jacob, and we're choosing Jacob. And whenever Edward returns, he actually says to him, "Hey, if you had just given me a few more months, like I could have won her over." Ultimately, spoiler alert if you haven't read this 15-year-old book, like she ends up choosing Edward. And so I think what Stephanie Meyer is maybe trying to show here is like ultimately, while Jacob seems like a really great option, he's actually like not the ultimate prize. Like having this like kind of quick, more satisfying and like non-torturous love
Yeah.
is actually not as gratifying. Where like maybe love and waiting and pining should be kind of a punishment.
Yeah.
I don't know. It kind of feels
No,
that way.
that's super interesting because I feel like, I don't know about you, but I have friends who they get into a relationship and from like day one, it's like painful. Like they're going through stuff all the time and they're like fighting for their lives, and they're like crying and
It's not that
pining. And
serious.
it's like, I always want to tell people, like, it's not that serious. It should be fun, like, especially when you're first dating. But Edward and Bella is the same way.
It should be
It's
the
like,
easiest.
yeah, exactly. It should be like the most lighthearted and the most chill. And I feel like, man, Edward and Bella, maybe they are relatable because I do know people like that where you're just like, what is wrong with you? Why is your relationship from the first day like so serious and so
Yeah.
intense and like depressing, like difficult? It shouldn't be so hard, but man, I can definitely see some of that reflected in life. I feel like that is, I can understand that as, an Enneagram 4. The melancholy, it does call to me. And sometimes I do want to just be sad. And so I kind of understand that. But I think it is kind of like maybe why I was Team Jacob for that period of time as well. Because it's like, Bella, just be happy. Like, just chill. Why? Every time you're with Edward, you guys are like
just
angsty
freaking chill.
and you can't talk to each other. And you just like, there's always some problem.
Oh my God. They're like that vine of that couple in Starbucks that's like looking at each other.
Exactly
Like,
what you mean.
and they're like leaning in. It's like, and then someone's like filming them, and then the girl turns around and she's like, go
Yeah.
away. Or I don't know, whatever. It's just like, yo, y'all, you're literally 17. Chill.
Yeah.
I mean, Edward's 109,
Yeah.
but it's chill. So, okay. So purity culture and that whole like suffering through love and all that kind of stuff, like that's one theme.
Yeah.
Another kind of social, cultural thing that happens in the book is actually kind of a discussion about a woman's right to choose what she does with her own body. Because in Breaking Dawn, against all odds and what was predicted was possible through science, human Bella gets pregnant by Edward. After they're married, obviously. Yes. And she's carrying a half vampire, half human baby. And so in this situation, Bella really wants to keep the baby and deliver it to term. And Edward is actually, this very traditional guy, is actually trying to force her to get an abortion and remove the fetus.
Yes.
And then terminate the pregnancy. And he was going to do it. He was actually going to do it against her will until Rosalie, Edward's sister, stepped in to try and protect her.
And while it feels off-brand for Edward, due to his conservative beliefs, it's actually on-brand because he so rarely listens to what Bella wants or gives her any autonomy over her own body.
Yes.
So that is a very interesting plot point. And she is fully willing, without knowing what's going to happen, or, what the baby inside of her is going to be, or if it's going to kill her, she is committed to delivering the child at the risk of her own life. And it does come at the cost of her own life at the end.
And she barely makes it.
Barely makes it.
Before getting turned into a vampire. So I think what is kind of backwards about this is like, I think I'm not necessarily backwards, but probably not what Stephanie Meyer expected. She, I think she was expecting to paint Bella as this pro-life hero, But also, I think that a lot of pro-choice people are like, okay, yeah, pop off,
Yeah.
Bella. It's your body. You get to decide what to do with it. And if you decide you want to give up your life for this half vampire, half human, like, pop off. It's your
Yeah.
life. But, anyways, I think it's just kind of probably not what she expected because I think a lot of the commentary is like, Edward, you need to chill. Like, you can't choose what she
Yeah.
does
I think that
with her
that is kind
body.
of the summary of it, and like um it kind of divides the family. But I think it is interesting of like just the overarching theme of Edward being extremely controlling. And on the look back, like, what are your thoughts? Like, does it hold up? In 2022, does Edward Cullen as a guy that you want to date, does he hold up?
Um, no. So, yeah, here's the thing. I think now that I've gotten older and I've actually fallen in love and am in a healthy relationship, I think. You kind of see now, okay, this picture of what love is supposed to be is obviously really messed up. And Edward is extremely controlling, doesn't want her hanging out with anyone, doesn't want her going anywhere by herself. Um, Literally gaslights her in the first book into thinking that he's not a vampire and that nothing weird did happen. Um, but it doesn't really get better. I think Jacob sucks
Yeah.
too. He's also kind of controlling, also doesn't let her process things the way she wants to process
Kisses
them.
her against her will, like some
Oh,
sexual
yeah.
assault, lightly,
Yeah,
very
non-consensual
casual. Yeah.
touching. Yeah. Oh, and by the freaking way, let's just talk about this. Charlie, who is normally pretty good in Eclipse, okay, in Eclipse, Jacob kisses Bella against her will without asking.
Yes.
And Ed Jacob drives her home and Edward
She
is
punches him
there.
in the face and breaks her
Yes, she
hand.
punches him in the face, breaks her hand. And Edward and Jacob are fighting in the yard about this, and Charlie comes out and he's like, "All right, guys, break it up, break it up." And then Jacob is like, "She punched me. I kissed her. She punched me, and she broke her hand." And then Charlie, his response is, "Do you want to press charges?"
To Jacob, to Bella,
To
who
Jacob.
got kissed against her will.
He looks at Jacob and asks if he wants to press charges against his own daughter who was assaulted.
To be fair,
Okay, and she's
Charlie,
a minor.
for good reason, has a deep hatred of Edward, and I think he's valid in that. And so I can understand this bumbling dad who doesn't really know how to deal, being like, I
Uh-huh.
just really want her to end up with Jacob because I freaking hate this guy, and so I will do whatever
Yeah.
it takes, to support this union. But alas, doesn't work out for Charles.
So, anyways, everyone is really messed up. Bella, the protagonist of the book, is really kind of a horrible friend.
The
Really just
worst.
uses her friends. Really just goes like AWOL for like months at a time, and then just comes crawling back when she needs emotional support. Basically, everyone sucks. But again, if a straight man critiqued
Facts.
us, it would be on site.
Facts.
What about you? How does it hold up for you?
I feel the same. I feel Edward, like, we just watched the movie the other night, and so I don't recall how he comes across in the books as well, because that's just what's fresh on my mind. But even just like, okay, imagine this guy who's your lab partner in biology. First, he just looks at you with the most hatred you've ever seen anyone display on his face.
Literally, he's like
Like,
gagging.
literally about to throw up, disappears. Then he comes back and he's like, "Tell me about your childhood." And you're like, I'm just a very,
What's your
yeah,
stepdad's name?
I'm like a private person, so maybe that's just me. But like, if my freaking lab partner, I don't care how hot he is, if he's asking me questions after that, I'm like, don't talk to me, probably. So I don't really even fully understand how they fell in love in the first place. Then the wanting to kill her thing, like maybe it's my anxiety, maybe it's me. But if my boyfriend was like, "Yeah, I have thoughts of killing you," I would be like, I think we're good here. I don't think you should be sleeping next to me when I'm like fully defenseless. Like, I'm not cool with that. So I think
Right.
just from the start, like, what is actually appealing about Edward? What does he actually bring to the table? Like, being fast? Like cars exist, you know?
Oh God. Yeah, like
So it's like, what? I
genuinely.
don't even know just on watching the movie, like, would I even fall in love with Edward? Probably not. And then beyond that, what makes me the most mad of anything he does is in Eclipse when he comes back after abandoning Bella and he won't let her go see Jacob. Like, not even go visit. That to me is insane.
Insecure.
It's insecure.
How are you 109 years old and you haven't dealt with whatever trauma is causing you to be so insecure? Like, you've had 109 years, you never went to therapy?
Yes, and he should. He really should.
You never read a book about cognitive behavioral therapy?
Yeah, or like attachment
You never read
styles. Like, you have some issues.
anything about attachment styles? You never read, like, emotionally immature parents? Like, you never read
Yeah.
any books? You never
Yes.
read Codependency No More?
Yes.
Okay?
Agreed.
Look, you don't sleep.
Yeah.
All you have time, all you do is have time
Seek
to
help.
read.
BetterHelp.com. And where do you need help?
Literally, BetterHelp.com.
The
Anyways.
last thing I'll say too about this on the look back is I think people in Forks were way too chill about this family
Oh my
of
God.
foster kids who are all conveniently the exact same age
And dating.
and hooking up and living in the same
And
house.
they all have the same color eyes.
Yes.
Why? We don't
Like-
know. They all have an extremely unique color of eye.
But no big
And none
deal.
of them are biologically
And they're
related.
all hot for some reason.
Okay.
And their parents are like 30.
And none of them comes out anytime it's sunny?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Fine.
I know there was gossip about the Cullens, but I feel like it should have been to a way more heightened level. They were just like so accepting of this story, and
Everyone was so okay with it. Yeah.
like that would have been something I could have never stopped talking about if I lived in Forks. Was this freaky family whose parents were cool with them all hooking up with each other?
yeah.
So
It is, like, maybe someone should call, like,
Child Protective
maybe someone should do a
Services,
check-in and be like, okay, wait, actually, does the state of Washington know that these kids are being fostered?
Yeah.
Has a social worker ever come to their house?
Yeah, like, do their parents know where they are?
Yeah, let's
Like, what's their deal?
talk about that.
So that is my final thought.
Or they could have just simply pretended to not be dating.
I know. Like, you guys have to hold
I
hands.
don't-
You have literal
have to. They
eternity
have to.
to be physical with each other. Can't you just
They
be
literally
freaking
have to.
normal? Also,
No.
why was Jasper in school? I'm sorry, we got to touch on this a little bit.
Yeah, so Jasper, first of all,
First of all, on the look back,
is a Confederate soldier.
X.
He fought for, well, but only because they lost the war.
True.
But he fought for the Confederacy as a human being.
Yes.
And then was changed into a vampire
And continued to fight.
for the Confederacy. And now he just goes to school. First of all, it's been like a long time since he was changed into a vampire, but the smell of human blood, like, what about a paper cut? Like,
That's what I'm saying. Like,
he goes to gym, people fall down.
people get hurt in high school all the time. There's never a fight. There's never a paper cut. There's never a falling in gym, like you said.
Here's one. People are on their freaking period.
That I have to believe that is not the same for them, because otherwise I have no explanation.
I don't get that. People are menstruating.
Yeah,
Like,
people just
always.
hurt themselves, like doing things in a high school as big as this.
People
was.
have scabs,
Yes.
and they might pick a
Yes.
scab in class, and then
Yes.
what happens?
So why are
Like,
we letting
he could have
this
just
guy-
not gone to school.
No, they are not thinking this through, because Bella gets one little paper cut in New Moon and he loses his mind, becomes completely feral, rabid, and like, I just don't buy that has never happened in a high school with students every single day. You know, like, things happen. I just don't understand why he is allowed to interact with human beings at all.
I mean, it's like, I have better control of my reactive dog.
Yes. Than Jasper. That is facts.
Like, you've been at my house for like a few days now. My dog has stayed in the room the whole time,
Yes.
and she's in a vampire.
Yes,
She's a pit bull.
They need a trainer like you have with Pepper. They need her to come help Jasper because he needs some help.
Anyways, okay, so some other things, you've mentioned the movie. The movies are fresh in our mind. Obviously, these books became infinitely more popular because of the movie adaptations. And there are just quickly some things that, of course, we cannot go unsaid about the movie adaptations. First of all, Taylor Lautner is famous for playing Jacob Black, who is a member of the Quileute tribe.
I want to say Quileute.
He's a member of the Quileute
Quileute.
tribe.
I'm
I'm
going to
so sorry
Google
if any of
how
the tribe
to
members.
pronounce.
How to pronounce? So he's white. He's a white man that was cast as a Native American person.
Yes.
That and
It is
so that
Quileute.
first of all,
Quileute.
Quileute.
Yes.
He was part of the Quileute tribe. That is not cool. That's problematic. A lot of everyone else that's cast as a member of the tribe is actually a Native American person.
And here's the
Um,
thing about that I have to say. Like, Taylor Lautner is not a good actor. So it's not even like you can be like, there
it's
was
not
no
even like
one
they needed
else.
him.
Like, I am confident that there are some native actors out there who could have done at least as good of a job as Taylor Lautner did,
At
at
least.
bare
At
minimum.
least. That's a pretty low bar. Also, okay, what else? What else about the movie?
Do you remember, like, did you have a picture in your mind of what, like, Edward would look like or what the cast would be? Like, did you have any hopes and dreams for that?
Well, I think one thing that those who were fans of the books may recall, particularly, was some of the descriptions of clothing that the characters wore. For instance, like Stephanie Meyer in the books described Bella as like wearing when she goes to meet Edward's family for the first time, like
I'm sorry.
a, a floor-length khaki skirt and a like I think like a sweater.
Yes.
And then Edward is like, "You're the
Like,
most
so
beautiful
horny.
creature I've ever seen." And he's wearing a floor-length khaki skirt, like fully Duggar style.
Yes,
Okay.
that tracks.
I also Edward inexplicably is always wearing like blazers, like vests, things like that. He's very like non-conventional. He's not your typical teenager wearing like Under Armour or Nike or like what was popular at the time, like big on like Abercrombie and Fitch polos, things
Yeah,
like that, like
t-shirts.
anything that was like Hollister t-shirts. That was all really popular back then.
Edward's rocking a
In
tight
the early
business
2000s.
casual at any given time.
Tight business casual. So I don't know. It's hard for me to remember exactly what I pictured because obviously now Rob Pattinson is like so ingrained in my brain, but I think maybe I pictured him being a little bit more quirky and maybe a little bit less chiseled.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I do remember, like, I can't put my finger on it, but I do remember being disappointed in Robert Pattinson being cast, specifically with him. Like, I thought the rest of the cast was okay, just on the look, when the first pictures came out. But I think I thought he was just
Hmm.
a little, like, all I really had to reference him was Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. And so I think I just thought he was a little scrawny. I
Right.
didn't think he was, like, as beautiful as he should have been. But I
Yeah.
think in the end, he brought a lot to the role. Something we were talking about when watching the movie was like Robert Pattinson's a little unhinged, and I think he brings that energy to Edward, who in the books is so straight-laced, so serious, never. Not a nary a joke passes through his lips, but I feel like
No,
our
yes.
Pats, he brings a little,
Yes.
insanity,
Zhuzh.
zhuzh, some might
Yeah.
say, to the role.
A little
So
color.
I
A
think
little
it
color.
actually did. It was a great casting on Edward.
And what's so ironic is like he's on record really regretting being in these movies. And he is really the only one from the cast who's had like success. I mean, Kristen Stewart's had a little success. She was
Yeah,
originally in
I
Diana,
think she's broken
but
away
like
as well.
she's broken away finally. But like, yeah,
Like Kellen
I mean,
Lutz,
Kellen Lutz is really doing a lot of work these days. I
even
guess
Taylor
Ashley
Lautner. I don't
Greene.
feel like what's the last
Taylor
thing?
Lautner is busy getting married to someone else named Taylor Lautner.
Yeah, I'm looking up Taylor Lautner
So
IMDb. Like, what's he doing?
it's not good. Um, so yeah, I mean, no one's really doing anything these days. But they probably don't need to because the check from this,
He is
is still
going to
coming
be
in.
in a
Mailbox
movie
money.
with Kevin James, or he already has been. Has this already been released? It says 2022. It's a true story
It
about
was a blockbuster hit.
a blockbuster hit. It is called The Home Team, and that's the only thing he's been in since 2018. I don't know if this is out
That's
yet,
rough.
but it is with Kevin James, and now I am desperate to see this movie.
Okay, so to wrap things up, should we kick this off or end this out with a little game? If you could recast one character, who would it be and why?
The obvious answer to me is Bella Swan. I wasn't happy probably with the casting of Kristen Stewart. Like, I just didn't think she really like portrayed her as I would have hoped. And I just don't think
Yeah.
she's very good in this. I think she does have strengths as an actress. I think she's proven that. But I just don't think that she was doing anything in these series of movies. And
Yeah.
so I would want to recast her. Who would you pick to recast?
I would also pick to recast her. I was just thinking, like, around that time period, who would be the same age?
Yes.
And I was thinking, actually Kristen Dunst,
That's a good one.
who had recently played Mary Jane
Yes.
in this Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I think she would have brought a little bit more, probably would have been a little less annoying, a little less, probably a lot less lip biting,
Yes.
a lot less of the, Edward.
Yes.
Like, would have just probably been a lot more tolerable.
Yeah, you know who's actually the exact same age as Kristen Stewart is
Who?
why did I just lose her name? Dakota Johnson, who was of course in
Oh.
50 Shades of Grey.
Which tie-in?
Is a Twilight, or originally was a Twilight fan fiction. So I kind of wonder if she could have maybe been Bella.
So the moral of the story is we're in hell.
Yeah.
And all of those actors are all in a perpetual cycle of terrible stories. Well, that's great. Is there any parting words you'd like to share about this
No, I think
book?
the Twilight series, for me, it sums up something that I'm always learning and having to remind myself, which is that, like, it's chill and it's okay to like things that are massively popular. And, like,
Yes.
it is fine to like pumpkin spice lattes. It is okay
Yes.
to enjoy books and movies
Amen.
and like it's okay to like Harry Styles or Taylor Swift. It doesn't matter that they have millions of followers or like whatever. Like, it's just okay to like things that are popular and maybe that aren't even that good. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't
You know,
matter.
like, I think you can love things and they don't have to be like objectively good. Like, they can just be something you love. And I think that is this for me. I always will love it. I reread Twilight on the reg, and I like to watch the movies still. I love them. And so, I think it's fine to love it.
Absolutely. I think it's absolutely fine to love it and to bring a critical eye to it. I wouldn't say, go forth and emulate, but I think a big lesson here is, like, I think, like, my brother, his friends, older people, like, teens that were a little older than us, like, at this time, really, like, gave us hell and like flack and like made fun of Twilight because honestly, I think it's something that teen girls like.
Yeah.
And I think the point of what I'm trying to say is, like, it's okay to like things that girls like. Girls like them because they're cool.
Yes.
Like, pumpkin spice is good.
It's
Fall
good.
is
Yeah.
fun. Taylor Swift is a good artist. That's why people like
Yes.
it. They like it because it's
Yeah.
good, and it's okay to like other things that girls like because girls are cool, and being a girl is cool.
Yes.
And liking Twilight is cool.
Yeah.
And guess what? If you don't like it, fine, but shut up. I don't care.
Amen.
It's on
Free
site.
stream.